Okay, I think it's recording. Looks like it. So they say you're supposed to clap because when you're looking at the audio lines, it's easy to know like where we started.
Okay.
So on 3, let's snap into the mic. 1, 2, 3. You just snap one time, babe.
Okay.
Just from Las Vegas, Nevada, the entertainment capital of the world. I'm David Gavri, and this is the Vegas Faces podcast, where we talk with Las Vegas locals about what it's really like to live in the city of lights. Whether you're living in Vegas, moving to Vegas, or just visiting Vegas and looking for new adventures. Together, let's discover the hidden gems that make Sin City the most visited place on earth. Welcome to the Vegas Faces podcast. This is episode 1, where we explore the local side of Vegas. Thank you for tuning in. I am David Gavri, and I've got my lovely wife, Mary Gavri, on with me today. What's up, babe?
Hi, how are you, babe?
Hey,
This
hey.
is exciting.
Yeah, is it? Does
Yes.
it feel weird talking in the mics?
Not at all. I feel like I was destined for this, so let's go.
It's nice that we could do this while the kiddos are sleeping.
Yes.
Yeah. So, hey, welcome. I want to kick it off by exploring the number one question that we always get from living in Vegas.
Let me guess. What brought you guys here?
Right? That's like number one, right? So for anyone who lives in Vegas, I feel like that's our most common question is, how the heck did you end up in Vegas?
Yeah. You want to point out, too, that a lot of people here, probably like 75% of people here are not originally from Vegas. And actually, it's really cool when you meet somebody that grew up in Vegas because they have just an awesome backstory. But we are not from Vegas. We are originally, David's from Texas. I am from Chicago. And we actually met. David moved to Chicago to pursue some of his career aspirations. And we met in Chicago on a dating app. I mean, we are so cliche. I'm not going to tell you which one, Tinder, but
it's
yes.
very Vegas, right? Oh, the Tinder couple ended up in Vegas. Of course they did. The
Tinder couple ended up in Vegas. So anyway, so we were always under the impression that we wanted to be somewhere warm. And eventually we started kind of debating, are we going to go to the East Coast, West Coast? And David, who's an avid poker player, had a lot of comps, and we were coming back and forth to Vegas a lot. And during our stay, we decided to rent a car. We had some friends out here, and we started driving around Vegas. And that's when we really shortly discovered, wow, this is
like
awesome.
Everything off the strip. Not to we still love the strip.
Yeah.
Like I feel like locals kind of have like this the strip. Like they look down on it. Like we love the strip, but there's more to Vegas than just the strip. I would
say the strip is like fifth on why I love living here. I mean, it's an added plus, but there's like, as far as a lifestyle, I think Vegas is so much more than the strip. Now, 100%. Mind you, if you want superb entertainment, amazing food, blah, 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 entertaining outside, visitors, great. The strip is perfect for that. But when we started renting a car, we would drive around, and particularly we started exploring Summerlin because that's what we were hearing a lot, Summerlin. And as we're exploring it, we're like, wow, look at this lifestyle, look at the scenery. And then we would come here at all different times of the year, and the weather was just beautiful. And then, of course, question, what are the summers like? And that's like everybody's number one question. Let's just crush that right now.
Well, here's a fun fact. It's that peak season for visiting tourism is summertime. People love coming to Vegas, starting with March Madness, spring break, all the way through the summer up until Labor Day. So most people who come here for vacation, for the pool parties, whatever it is, the hot, they just picture Vegas as hot all year round, when really it's just hot in the summer months. I mean, we come from Chicago where we're used to 9 months of snow.
Yeah.
So 2 months of hot is fine.
And then what the other thing people don't realize is that, okay, so it's hot for those 2 months, but then the rest of the year is literally gorgeous. You have like maybe a week or two of cold, and then everything else is like a jean jacket weather. And I'll take jean jacket for 10 months out of the year, all day, every day. Now, let's talk about those 2 months. Are they hot? Yes. Are they unbearable? Absolutely not. I think they are a lot more enjoyable than let's say 95 degrees and humid that, you know, our family lives in Florida and Texas, and no thank you. Like I will take 110 in
Dry, no humidity,
sitting in the shade is actually lovely. Quote that. I mean, we should literally make that a poster.
Is that a TikTok right there?
Yeah, that's a TikTok. 110 dry in the shade is lovely. You tell me where it is lovely in the shade in other...
That is true. You can like literally see like the line of the sun and the shade. And if you step in the sun, you're burning. But then as soon as you cross over that line into the shade, it's a completely different temperature.
So anyway, we explored. We loved it.
Hold on. Let's like, you want to back up? Like where... Like for anyone who doesn't know us, like who are we? Like where did we come from? You know, I grew up in Houston, Texas, technically Sugarland. I get made fun of a lot for that. Sugarland, Texas.
That was one of my Instagram posts when we first started dating and you brought me home to meet your family. It was Sugarland with my sugar babe.
Like people were like, is that a real place? Like,
yeah, it's real. It's real.
I feel like when that movie Straight Outta Compton came out and everyone was doing the straight outta memes, you know, straight out of like, you know, trying to be tough. I was like straight out of Sugarland.
Yeah, it's okay, babe. You're tough.
Sugarland, Texas, Houston, Texas, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So from there, I went to college at the University of Arizona, the one in Tucson, not to be confused with Arizona State, the one in Phoenix or Tempe, technically. It
sounds like you're kind of...
well, it's a rivalry. You know, it's a rivalry. And you say I went to school in Arizona, they're like, oh, ASU. It's like, nope, U of A, Wildcats, baby.
Yeah, good job, babe.
So I guess that was like my first introduction to the desert. That was kind of, you know, Tucson to Vegas, I think is what, like a 5-hour, 6-hour drive, something like that.
Yeah.
We drove to Phoenix. What was that, like 5-6 hours?
Yeah, not bad at all.
You know?
And you were raving about Arizona the whole time we were living in Chicago. So I was actually super curious. I had been out to Vegas. I had been out to Arizona, but just that desert life right away when he told me, like, would you ever consider Vegas? I'm like, oh my God, all I'm thinking about is shriveling into a potato and like burning to death because that's all I feel like the desert is known for. But it's really not even like that. But anyway.
Yeah, they just think it's just sand and hot.
Yeah. So a little background on me. I am a Ukrainian immigrant, came from Kiev, Ukraine. And at a young age, I moved to Chicago, Illinois.
How old? How young, baby?
I was 6 years old when I moved here, and I didn't speak English for 2 years, and here I am now. I don't really shut up.
Now you
much.
just don't stop talking,
yeah.
huh? That's like the joke in the family. They're like, yeah, she didn't talk for 2 years, and now she doesn't stop talking. Love you, boo.
Love you. And so I moved to Chicago with my family, and honestly, loved everything about the experience. I was always a downtown girl, went to college in Chicago, went to graduate school in Chicago, worked in the financial services industry.
Chicago gal.
I'm a Chicago gal, and I've always been in marketing in the financial services industry, and moved to Vegas and got into marketing for real estate. So it's been a fun transition, but the number one thing that I have to say about Vegas is the people, and that's what we're really, really going to hone in on. Because I swear to God, and I'm a blabbermouth.
Everyone has a story, right?
Everyone has a story. Like
it's a fun backstory. It's not I worked in an office for 30 years. And
poor David. I mean, everywhere we go, I make a new best friend. And I'm authentic in that I love people, so I connect to people. But
when we lived in Chicago together, we lived on the 8th floor.
Yeah.
Was it? The 8th floor, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we had 8 floors of like best friends that you would make along the way. And I'm like, I just want to go inside.
I lived in that building for a long time. I know, poor David. He had to socialize
I was
a
like,
lot.
oh man, who's going to walk in on this elevator? I'm like, Mary, is that you?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like, hey, we're almost at the 8th floor.
Yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
But anyway, so it's been really cool because we were actually scared moving out here, me being a social butterfly and having such a big circle back in Chicago. And David sort of loved it, jumped into my big circle and became a part of it and made, some of my best friends are in Chicago. But what we soon realized is coming out here, everybody really wants to make friends and become, a part of something. And there's a lot. And now our social circle is huge here because, we make the effort and we really like invest in our friendship. So
when do you think we like decided to officially, take it seriously that we were going to move to Vegas? Because we were taking a lot of trips. Mary. Bay. It's so weird to call you by your name.
I know. Do you even have a name? I feel like
you know what's weird.
David.
So we have a 3-year-old, Maya, and when does she know our names?
I don't think
she knows our names.
No.
Like I think she saw something where like David popped up and she called me David, and it was so weird to hear her say David instead of Dada. So weird. Anyone who has kids, I guess, can relate.
Yeah.
But either way, so let's back up to how we. Okay, so you were working in the financial district.
Yeah.
Very classy gal.
I was wearing the pencil skirts every day.
I feel like you tell it better than I do.
David, okay, so I literally admire this, and I'll take this with me everywhere I go. But when I met David, obviously, like, the shallow part of me just swiped right because he was really cute. But the side of me that truly fell in love with him was David is not conventional, and not in like a rebel way, but just David marches to his own beat drum. And I was around all these financial people. I mean,
what was I doing though, babe?
I know. Let me get to it. So David told me early on.
I'll give a hint. Basically, my dad is an immigrant from Israel, and he has the the foreign father American dream syndrome, where he wants all of his kids to be doctors.
Yeah.
You know, like that. It was like, you're going to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer. Like that was like anything. There's no such thing as anything other than those professions. So it was really, and plus, in addition, my dad really wanted to be a doctor.
Don't forget that you're Jewish. You have to throw that in there,
Jewish
because
doctor?
Jewish dads are, it's pretty much
we just lost like all our listeners by saying But no, so dad wanted me to be a doctor, especially since he really wanted to be a doctor but didn't have the means to do so. He came to this country and just immediately started working. So, he kind of instilled in me, like, you're going to be a doctor, you got to be a doctor. So I kind of did that. But then literally like the day of graduation, it kind of just broke for me. And I was just like, I don't know, call it an epiphany. Epiphany?
Yeah,
epiphany.
You got it.
Yeah. It sounds so I sound so college educated. I had an epiphany, and whatever you want to call it. It was just kind of like I was very like maybe too people pleasy during childhood perhaps. And I would rather be miserable and go with the group than to do my own thing, and a fear of being outcast and out of the group type of thing.
Yeah.
So I kind of just was like more of like a go along with the go with the flow, as opposed to do my own thing. So after I graduated college, I said, you know what, this is my life. I'm going to do what I want to do. And if people judge me for it, so be it. And I really wanted to do stand-up comedy. And that didn't go well with a guy who wanted me to be a doctor.
Oh, with your dad. Yeah.
I'm also the firstborn. I feel like there was some pressure there.
For sure.
Firstborn son from like a foreign father. Like, you want to be a clown?
Yeah.
Like that.
You
that's
might
not
as
gonna,
well have said that.
That's not going to go well at the country club. Like,
Right.
like you don't want to. You're not going to brag about your child about that. So there was a lot of, and also friends too. Friends were like, "Oh, okay. Oh, you think you're funny, huh?" Like it was kind of like you think you're better than everyone because you think you're funny. Like you think you have something that none of us can do. Like it was like I don't know how to explain it other than like an ego kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, he thinks he's better than us. He's going to actually take this seriously and try to make a career out of it, as opposed to just doing it for fun and just getting drunk.
Well, flash forward about 5 years, and were you about 5 years in when we met?
When I met you, that was 2016. Sure, let's say 6 years.
Okay.
Because I kind of started in Houston, got my feet wet there, got some experience, and then shipped off to Chicago, where I started working at the Second City, which is kind of like this training ground for SNL. That's like the dream. It's like, oh, if I get in at Second City, maybe I'll get on SNL kind of thing. So even though that's the world of improv, but it all kind of ties together. The comedy world's small in general. But so yeah, I was doing comedy when I met this financial gal working at the Sears Tower. And I was also playing poker because I just went full rebel. I was like, you know what? I'm not even gonna get a real job. I'm just gonna treat poker like a job. And I actually did, which is kind of tacky and ironic, I feel like, because you see this guy going to the casino for 40 hours a week, logging in, like getting poker points, getting free hotels and free flights to Vegas and stuff like that.
Well, you know what I saw? I did not see that. I did not see a degenerate.
I don't know what you saw. You saw whatever everyone didn't see.
Well, let's just
and
start
that's
off.
why we're here.
I was shallow. You were good looking. Okay, just checked off the list. It was about to be summertime. I had just gotten out of a relationship. I was like,
so I was the rebound.
You were the rebound, but like not whatever. Awkward. Okay, so then I just
it's all good.
What I saw was somebody who was living their dream. I saw somebody who was passionate, humble. I saw somebody who was hardworking. You were never the degenerate type. And let me tell you something. I literally had never felt that alive. I mean, being at comedy shows, going with you to poker. Hey, I love me a casino too. So I didn't hate that part. And I just felt so alive. Like for the first time in my life, I mean, I had been around finance people for like the last 10 years. And for the first time in my life, I was like living with somebody and like not caring. And I started to see the world through your eyes. And that's really when it became like magical for me, because you don't have to take the conventional route. Ironically, I called my mother, my Jewish mother, and told her, okay, I met this guy. By the way, he's 4 years younger. Here's what he does for a living. And I'm enjoying time with him. And she's like, go for it. She's like, do you know like what kind of strength and courage it takes to be like an artist, to march to your own drum beat? And she was so encouraging, which literally shocked me. And all my friends like just loved him, loved the idea of the fact that
let me pause right there. I was very accepted among both your family and your friends, which was very weird to me because I was so used to being rejected by anyone outside of the comedy world. Like, if anything, the comedy world was like a safe haven, even though we all had our own like problems, whether it was like bad relationships with parents or someone who had gotten out of a horrible divorce, or like anyone that I met in comedy had like a really interesting story, but also stemmed from something dark and unfortunate that happened. So we all kind of banded together, like doing this, you know, the comedy was like maybe a way of coping, in fact.
Yeah.
To, you know, also maybe a way to just forget about those external, you know, negative, whatever you want to call that. But yeah, I was very used to even trying to date. It was like, wait, so what do you do? Like, but you have like a job though, right? It was never. Sure. It was always like, oh, you do that. That's cool. So, but like, where, you know, what do you do for work? It was never like, oh, you do comedy. It was always like, oh, hey, you're doing that comedy thing, huh? It was always like downplayed. It was always like I lived the life of a stand-up comic for 8 years. Like I drove to all kinds of weird places that you would never visit. I slept on a lot of couches, floors, sleep in the car in the cold. And when I say cold, like 5 degrees, like blast the heat, fall asleep, wake up freezing, blast the heat again, rinse, repeat. So either way, it was kind of a weird lifestyle to then meet someone who's like, yep, I wake up, I go to the Sears Tower, I do my job, and then here meet my friends who are like, responsible, nice, upstanding people. I felt very out of place at first.
I think for me it wasn't anything out of the ordinary. I just thought it was so cool. Like, here's somebody living their dream. A, he's college educated. B, he's incredibly classy and can, hang around my friends and doesn't stick out like a sore thumb, comes from a good family. Like, all these factors, to me, none of it was a red flag. I was like, listen, and I remember you asking me one time, like, so what if for comedy I want to move to New York? I'm like, great. I mean, the financial services industry is even better in New York. Let's go. And I was in such a great point in my life. I was so happy within myself, and it all just manifested the way that it was supposed to. But I think the moral is, and I tell a lot of my friends who are still dating, or even when I was, just met David and sort of in the beginning stages, like, you just never know. And like, if you pigeonhole people into just, I hung out with a lot of finance people. I dated lawyers. I dated doctors. There's nothing different about anybody. We're all battling within ourselves. We're all looking for, what's going to make us the happiest. And for me, I saw somebody who was happy and who appreciated everything that I come with, and I appreciated him. And I knew that if I was going to take that next step with him, we were just going to build an awesome life together, because the two of us were just always dynamic together. And that's what successfully, formed this sort of union. And then, everything else sort of trickled from it, moving to Vegas, having 2 children, starting different businesses together. I mean, we've literally just like always been
able to figure it out.
Yeah, always.
What do you remember? Like, was there what triggered us to move to Vegas? Because I remember here I am literally like waking up, getting to the casino at 9 a.m. to clock in. And when I finish, I then go out and do comedy at night and then rinse and repeat. And then, obviously we accrued like...
I have to add, you were like the most responsible poker player I had ever met. Like we had an accounting system and you were like...
I wouldn't even say I'm a good poker player. I'm just a good money manager. Like when we go out and, and we're talking like, now that we have kids, we barely can go out. But like in our heyday, like if we went out and you played blackjack, I was like your money manager.
I never lost with you because you were always like my banker beside me. And if I was up like $50, we're leaving. That's it. We're done. The night is over.
No, I mean, we made more than $50, but still it was like, oh, okay. All right. Babe made $500. Let's get out of here. Let's go. We had a good night. That's it. But yeah, I mean, either way, I remember we got a lot of free trips to Vegas, and we stayed at the Rio of all places, which that's kind of our spot.
We got comps at all the different.
But I'm saying like the first time, but like our first, I don't know why it's like it's not really on the Strip, but I think that gave us the freedom to escape all that like Las Vegas Strip traffic, and so that kind of probably inspired us to explore other places of Vegas, because we were like, hey, we're already kind of away from the Strip. Let's see what's over here. Let's see what's over there. And that kind of sparked that adventurous side of us to where we want to see what else Vegas has to offer.
I will say the first time we went hiking, I think we went to Red Rock, and I had been hiking one other time in like Phoenix, but I swear to God, I had like so cheesy, but I had never felt like so alive, so happy, so a part of nature. It's really not cliche. Like when they say put your feet on some grass or go for a hike, like coming from a giant city where it's nothing but buildings and concrete, just seeing mountains, I'm sure was a shock to you. And then I remember, like, I think one thing that really, 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 like, really hit me over the head and was like, this is where I want to raise children, is we were visiting some friends in LA, and it's like, I don't even know what month it was, but it was not a month that should be, decently warm, and it was, and their kids were outside, and we spent like 90% of that trip outside playing with the kids. And that's when it hit me, like, I want to raise a family where
we don't have to put like 10 layers of clothes on just to go, for a quick outside trip.
Not to diss Chicago. I love Chicago, world-class city, love, love, love it. But if I'm going to live in the suburbs somewhere, I'm going to live in the suburbs of Las Vegas, where it is just magical. Like, if you have not driven through the different suburbs, Henderson, Summerlin, which are very large suburbs, you'll kind of see what I'm talking about. It's a very peaceful life. And, the mountains do not suck to look at every day. Like, that's my favorite thing in the whole world, is just the scenery constantly and all the outdoor activities that we can do. And now that we have 2 children and they're literally outside in the backyard, I think we keep our screen door open like 7 months out of the year.
They say like, oh, the Vegas dust or whatever. I mean, it's funny to hear Vegas locals complain about the weather here, because, I mean, coming from Houston, Texas, Chicago, we have family in Florida who have evacuated because of hurricanes. Yeah. Our family in Texas, we went and visited them during the ice storm because we thought, oh yeah, just Chicago weather, just bring the Chicago jackets. Like, we've seen ice storms. I grew up seeing tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, lived in the snow of Chicago. Of all the horrible weather, whatever, negative weather, I'll take hot and a little bit of dust in Las Vegas. Like,
and a scorpion here and there, like,
I mean,
barely.
That's not fun. You'll depending on where you live, like, that's not like a regular occurrence, but
I've never seen one in our house or anything like that, but I've heard there's a few here and there. Other than that, there's literally no bugs, like zero.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we do have like when you do see a bug, it's like the ones that you really don't want to see, the, black widow spiders or the, stuff like that.
Well,
but
I haven't seen that
But
yet.
It's not a regular occurrence. Like, I'm used to like stepping on ant piles in Houston, like, just either way. for us, it's an upgrade.
Yeah. And so now that we're on our 5th year, it's literally been just like, I feel like it can't get better and then it gets even better. I don't know. There's just so much to it. But what we really, really, really want to showcase is the amount of cool people that we meet. It's unbelievable. First of all, I'm like a 12-year-old at all times. So I see celebrities around Vegas all the time. I mean, I saw Jane Fonda at Trader Joe's and I was like snapping pictures under my cart so she didn't see me. But I saw like Ronnie from Jersey Shore, and
we saw him twice. We saw him at the airport. You were such a like.
I'm like, don't you remember? We were
you were like so bad. Like
I'm horrible.
Way too starstruck. I was embarrassed. You were.
Oh.
You were like, Ronnie. I was like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to a stranger. So can you imagine like a celebrity? I feel like Ronnie. We go back like so many seasons of Jersey Shore, and he's like, "Who are you, crazy girl?"
Right. Hey, and then we saw him at the Froyo, and he had like you know those Froyos where you like put your own toppings, whatever. Yeah. Like this guy put all the toppings. So when we walked in the Froyo and you go, damn, and I thought you were talking about his ice cream. I was like, I know, damn, that guy got all the toppings. And you're like, that's Ronnie. And I was like, I feel like we're BFFs with Ronnie now because we already saw him at the airport.
He actually, honestly, was so
really nice.
Really
nice guy.
We talked about Summerlin. I was pregnant at the time with my little girl, and he had a little girl. And I mean, I'm sure if he saw me now, he'd like just jump into my arms and give me the biggest hug because he totally remembers me. But just kidding.
We've seen Carrot Top.
We've seen Carrot Top.
Both at his show and here in downtown Summerlin. We saw him twice. He's a nice guy. What's his name? Scott, I think.
Yeah, me and Scott go way back.
Nice guy. I'm a very, like, at work, I talk about Carrot Top all the time. I'm like, you guys got to see him. Like, his show, like, people think, you know, because he kind of has that, like, mystique of, like, oh, it's Carrot Top. Like, whatever. Like, a cheesy, silly, like, it can't, like, there's no way that show is good. If you're in Vegas, whether you're local or visiting, go see Carrot Top. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
And also you have to like attest to the fact that it's a very reasonably priced ticket compared to most things on the Strip.
And he's been here for what, 20 years? Like,
and
you don't survive this town.
That show. Yeah, that show is, I was bawling, crying, laughing. And I'm like a tough one to crack. So
yeah, like I was here in Vegas, and I was here when Tom Green got his residency here in Vegas.
Right.
What was my claim to fame is I opened for Tom Green's opener. Like, yeah.
Babe, you're killing it in the game. Yeah.
And and it was cool. Like they laid out a green carpet instead of a red carpet for him and everything.
Yeah.
Even with everything that Tom Green has, and as funny as he is, I think he was here for like 6 months. Like it's very hard to have a residency for multiple years, if not decades, like Carrot Top has. So that's my Carrot Top rant. I hope he goes.
Go see his show.
I hope he hears this one day, and I hope we have him on the podcast.
He also lives like
day.
10 minutes away. So if Carrot Top wants to be my best friend, I am available. Like I am lunches with Carrot Top. I feel like we've seen him in downtown Summerlin a lot. But anyway,
like you just see all these fun characters, even the characters that you don't know, like the people at work, like just get their story. Like chances are they've done something fun and cool and something that you would have never thought that they did. Like I used to work for a guy who played in the NFL back in like the 70s. Like I don't know. I tried to look him up, couldn't find him. Probably, I don't know. He could have been making it up. I don't know. Either way. It was a cool story. It's like, oh, the guy played in the NFL, he made some money, invested it, and then bam, now he bought this business that I'm now, helping him run.
Yeah, we also, our old neighbor in our old community, her husband was a big time producer in LA. He had some really big shows that he produced back in like the 70s and 60s.
Cirque du Soleil dancers.
Our friends are like our Cirque du Soleil dancers. One of my girlfriends just gave me a free ticket. She's like, come see my show.
And she was in the show, right?
She was in the show. I was like waving to her.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was.
Did she wave back while she was doing the flips?
I don't think so, but she gave me like 4th row tickets. That was awesome. And then just like this is constant. And then a good friend of ours was in the music industry for a long time, managing a really big band. I'm not gonna name
he
names.
downplays it, but it was a big band.
It was a big band.
But if you look at him, you would be like, no way that guy did that, but he did.
Yeah. And that's like what Vegas has, and not that that's all we want to hang out with as people with these like over the top stories, but it's cool. It's cool to have.
It's fun. There's like flavor here. There's character here behind the characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds cheesy saying that?
Like, I don't know. David and I, neither one of us like wanted to live this cookie cutter life and like keeping up with the Joneses. Like I don't think either one of us is like super motivated by like wealth. I mean, sure, that's
definitely
great.
appearances. For me, it was like it was a very like keeping up with the appearance that you're perfect all the time, and it's very exhausting to like
Oh my God.
not once be vulnerable and be like, you know what, I am struggling. Like I'm struggling with this. Like I'm having a hard time with that. It was just like, no, never had that problem ever. Yeah. It's a very exhausting. So I don't know, something broke for me, and I was like, you know what, this is the route I'm going to go, and if it means that I lose friends along the way, so be it. I've made some really amazing friends in Chicago that I'm still friends with today, and I couldn't be happier in terms of choosing what I chose, whether or not, obviously, yeah, the goal, you wanted to be on HBO, Comedy Central, Netflix. What's my claim to fame? Like I was an extra on, what was that show?
Oh, Chicago Fire.
Like I was in the background. I didn't even speak.
You were the assistant lawyer, okay?
Yeah,
babe?
I was just sitting there with a pencil taking notes behind the main person.
The funny thing about David too is literally this has happened, like I can count probably on two hands, but people are constantly like, do I know you from somewhere? Were you on a show or something? You have that celebrity look. I mean
sure, but like my point that I was trying to make was that just going down that path, whether or not that path resulted in something, you know, quote unquote success, such as a Netflix special or whatever you want to equate that to, just the mere going down the path, I think is a success, and for me at least, because it was hard enough to just go. There were so many people I grew up with that they said, oh man, I would love to move to LA and try to be an actor, but I don't know, I'll get made fun of. Like people will talk bad about me. And I was like, and I was one of those people too that I was like, oh yeah, if I did that, there's no way I'd be able to break that news to friends and family without getting a shitload of backlash.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, you know what? I'll take it. That's it. If you know, and I feel better about it, and I feel better for it for having gone through that.
I'll end with this because I know, it's coming to the end of our episode, but I will say this, like we moved out here and it was like a big finding ourselves, and we were a really solid couple. And I think this solidified us just to no end, because we've really like met some amazing people, we have a group here, different groups of people that we now consider family. And like, that is a testament to itself. Like as an adult, we have formed these amazing friendships. We have amazing circles around us. Our families are a huge part of our life. Honestly, our families live in, Florida, Texas, and we are so ingrained with them. Like it feels like we're constantly talking to them and a part of, their lives. We have family in Israel. And at the end of the day, like, this is doable. And I always thought, you needed family around you to raise children. And no, we can do this on our own. And not only are we doing this on our own, we're loving life. And like, I feel like Vegas brought that out of us, even though I'm sure that, the Chicago suburbs would have been just dandy to do the same. But
we moved out here without having jobs lined up either. We just said we want to pick a place where we want to live on our own terms, and we will make it work. Like a lot of people move because the job told them you have to live here. You have to live in.
Well, no, I had a job lined up, but I found a job right away. But you looked for jobs here as opposed to. Oh, I knew I was already like.
We picked the city first, and then we found the jobs, as opposed to finding the job and then just living wherever the job tells you to live.
Listen, we're both college educated. We're both pretty easy, people to get along with. I knew we were going to thrive in whatever we chose. But at the end of the day,
our mindset of like, we're going to figure this out. Like,
we are.
Where do we want to live? We like Vegas. That we think that we can live there.
And we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, this is an evolution. Like, it's not about, like just being this perfect image. It's an evolution of constantly tackling things together. Like we fall, we get up, we encourage each other. We're a team. And at the end of the day, like, we love sharing our experience here because it has made us so much stronger, and it's made us appreciate so many things because we did do it on our own, and we're happy. And, there's going to be a lot of chapters along the way, but we got it. We're together, and we're in a beautiful city, and a city that's growing and thriving. And we wish people, a lot of success when they take those big steps and move, somewhere that they're not familiar with. But that's when growth really starts, is when you kind of get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, 100%. Well said, my love.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, that's episode 1. We've got so many more to come. We've got so many interesting characters that we cannot wait to talk to, learn more about Vegas, dispelling the myths of, no, we do not live on the Strip, even though people think we live on the Strip when you say I live in Vegas.
And we're not thirsty, I promise. We're really hydrated here. It's not the desert where you're just out to dry. And
I mean, we do drink a lot of water.
You do. You have to drink a lot of water if you move to Vegas. So you got to up your water intake for sure.
But yeah, I just feel like the purpose of this that we created is so that we can share with you our experience of what we've gone through thus far living in Vegas for 5 years, what we experienced moving to Vegas, and what we continue to experience. So I hope that you enjoyed us talking and can't wait to do this again.
Yeah.